Welcome to my living room. I want to show you how I took it from looking like this to this. In my last video, that was more of a vlog, I showed you how I did the track lighting in the ceiling. But as much as I love light strips, I don't love looking at them. I like the effect they make. You can see here on the curtains, it just highlights those folds and makes it really lush and cinematic. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about my crown molding valance project. Usually people put LED light strips that face the ceiling and they put their molding on the wall, and I decided to put my molding on the ceiling and put the LED light strips pointed down the wall. First, I found crown molding that was actually made of styrofoam, which was great because I knew that I would have to be putting it on the ceiling. I just didn't want to overload the ceiling with too much weight because there's already curtain tracks on it. This crown molding came in giant 8-foot strips, and the corners were already mitered, meaning they were already at 45 degrees. So using a hacksaw, I cut each piece into 2, so I would have 8 halves, so I could put together the corners first. And then I noticed that I didn't really have a good point of contact. This crown molding is meant to go on the wall and on the ceiling. So it has 3 attachment points to where it goes on the wall and 1 attachment point to where it goes on the ceiling. Well, because I was only using the ceiling, that is not enough surface area for me. So I had to figure out a way to trim that. And a friend of mine, he said, well, why don't you just use your jigsaw? I was like, that's a great idea. So we figured out a way to move the crown molding against the jigsaw to get these perfect cuts so that I had more surface area on the top of the crown molding so that I could adhere it to the ceiling. How do I adhere it to the ceiling? I tried to do it in my garage with a couple of scraps. The first thing I tried was a glue that's specific for styrofoam, and it actually really sucked. It didn't work at all. So then I tried caulk, just regular caulk, and it worked okay, but I thought, okay, I could reinforce it with a nail gun. Well, the nail gun didn't work at all. It's a lot easier to paint crown molding on the ground than to paint it on the ceiling. So before mounting each piece, I actually went ahead and painted it. One thing about the painting was that because there were so many styrofoam pieces, they just kind of got everywhere. So before painting a piece, I would take a rag and just sort of swat off the styrofoam to make sure that none of it got caught in the paint. The first piece went over my front door, and I tried to do it with only caulk, just like the manufacturer said to do, except it kept falling. So I took 2 C-stands to hoist it up there and hold it up there. Well, they actually created dents in the molding. So for the second piece, I decided to put tennis balls on the end of the stands and hold it up that way. It was just taking way too long, and I was racking my brain and thinking, oh my God, is it gonna take me like 8 days just to put these corners up? And then I realized nails exist, just regular finishing nails. So even though it was tedious, I nailed each piece in. And of course, where the joints meet, I added extra caulk and I tried to smooth it out as much as I could. As I kept going, I kept getting better. After I glued all of the corners and reinforced it with nails, it was time to figure out how to do the middles. And instead of measuring, I actually just held up other pieces of the styrofoam and I marked where to cut with a pencil. I took my hacksaw and I cut off those ends, obviously painted them, stuck them on, nailed them in, and tried to caulk the seams as best as I could. The white caulk needed to be painted, and of course, it was 3 coats of paint, but I got it done. And now I get to relax in my beautiful living room. I also did a few other things like swapped out some curtains, swapped out the rug, added a mirror, and I'm waiting on the last piece, which are these beautiful dark wood bookshelves that are gonna go floor to ceiling along this wall over here. They're just gonna come in 2 to 4 months. Thanks for watching. I hope this inspired you to do your own DIY project. Until next time, bye.